If you want to get rich, do not invest in dividends. Do this instead. I want you to head to your nearest Lamborghini dealership and purchase the most expensive item on the lot. But instead of driving it, within 1 week, I want you to flip it for a 10x profit. Then take all of your gains and throw it into buying some property and rent it out and create passive income for yourself. And that's how the rich manage their money. Oh, buy my course and I'll show you how to make millions of dollars in your sleep for free for a limited time only. Every finance guru ever. In 99% of cases, there really is no easy way to get rich unless you got to Dogecoin at the bottom of the market. But in all seriousness, dividends are no exception, and it can take a while before you can make enough to live off of them. But the earlier you start, the better. If you were to wait till 45 to start saving and investing, then you would have to save 3 times as much on a monthly basis than if you started at 25. As the old investment saying goes, the best time to start investing was yesterday. And the second best time to start investing is after you drop a like on this video and watch it through. So let's get started. So most of what I invest in these days can be broken up into 2 different categories: growth and passive. Both of which I try not to invest into any particular stock, but instead I built my portfolio around investing in ETFs. An ETF is essentially like one stock that follows a certain criteria, and within that stock there's several other stocks that all fit that criteria. There's an ETF for almost everything, from dividend ETFs to technology ETFs like the Vanguard Technology ETF. And surprisingly enough, there are even ETFs that track some of your favorite investors' investments, like Warren Buffett, for example. The reason why I personally follow this strategy is because it's an excellent way for me to mitigate my risk because my money is more diversified throughout different stocks in the market. An easy way to think of what an ETF is to imagine it like a deck of cards. Now imagine this pack to be an ETF, and within the pack, there are all the different stocks that are within that ETF. Now, even if you were to lend this pack to your baby brother and he were to destroy one of the cards, then it wouldn't make a big deal because it's a very, very small portion of your overall investment that's actually damaged. And because of that, it has a very little impact on the investment performance of your entire portfolio. Let's take ExxonMobil, for example. They're a great company and they've been around for a very long time, but it's impossible to predict the future based on how they performed in the past. They're currently an oil. Will it make a massive transition and become a renewable energy company, or will it fail to adapt and become the next blockbuster? The truth is that nobody knows. I recognize that I'm no expert stock picker, and I have little to no control over black swan events that may arise out of nowhere. Picking individual stocks is a lot more difficult and a lot riskier than investing into ETFs. Not to mention that individual stocks would require a lot more work on your part. You would have to constantly be researching the market and studying the news to ensure that your stock picks are still healthy. And there isn't some catastrophic economic event that took place that would wipe off all of your investments. I personally don't want to have to deal with that, so my investment strategy is built around automation. With all that being said, here are some of my personal favorite picks for dividend ETFs. The first one is SPHD. This ETF tracks the top 52 stocks with the lowest volatility and the highest dividend yield. The great thing about SPHD is that it pays monthly, so it provides another layer of convenience when planning for retirement versus your expenses. The downside, however, is that SPHD has an expense ratio of 0.3%. Now I get if it doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, it adds up. For example, an ETF called ARK, ARKK, managed by the very popular Cathie Wood, has an expense ratio of 0.75%, which is only about 2 times that of SPHD. Now surprisingly, an expense ratio of 0.75 over the course of 30 years would account for 20% of your portfolio. 0.75% factored over 30 years means that you would make 1/5 less than what you should have just because of a small fee that most people would ignore. But if you're in the market looking for a good ETF that won't cost you a fortune in the long run, then I would consider looking into SCHD. Another very popular ETF that happens to track the top 100 dividend-paying stocks. And a great perk of this particular ETF is that it has an extremely low expense ratio of 0.06%. Another one to consider is VYM, which is Vanguard's high dividend yield ETF and is also quite popular, and VIG, which is dividends for growth. Now I realize that these might seem like a lot of options, especially if you're new to investing and just getting started. But keep in mind that these are not recommendations, but rather just starting points for you to do your own research. And if you're looking at your stock picks and aren't completely satisfied with the results, keep in mind that most people aren't very successful stock pickers. And as a matter of fact, approximately 40% of stocks fell 70% or more since 1980 and have never recovered. So statistically speaking, 40 years from the day this video is being made, which is in 2023, almost half of the stocks won't exist anymore. They'll either be bought out, go bankrupt, or consolidate. If you want to put yourself in the best position to be successful, then join the dark side and invest in the broad market index funds. Historically, they have produced the best results, and there's no getting around that. Anyways, researching the best investments to make can almost feel counterproductive because of the fact that everyone has their own opinion. But if you're looking for a predictable and reliable investment portfolio to plan for retirement, then dividend stocks are the way to go. The reason for that is because you never have to sell your principal. You're essentially collecting the interest that they generate. Now, this is super valuable because let's say you were to retire in 2008 during the recession and you were to quit your job. A lot of people at the time were essentially forced to sell their shares at the bottom of the market and miss out on tons of profits. With dividend stocks, you wouldn't have to do that, and the longer you hold, generally speaking, the more money you get paid. Also, dividend stocks are generally a lot less volatile because most of the time blue chip companies are offering the best dividend yields. And this is all because of the fact that blue chip companies have been around for a very long time and they're very well established. So the potential of them going bankrupt or disappearing within the next 20 years is very low. On top of that, when comparing dividend stocks to growth stocks are only valuable in upwards trending market. But in a sideways trending market like we might get in the next 10 years, dividend investors may beat the market because as you're getting paid your dividends, you can essentially reinvest them into the market and increase your position size within that company. But someone who's stuck holding the S&P 500 will just go sideways for the next 10 years and see little to no growth in their portfolio. Let's say your investment were to drop by 15%. In that case, your income would remain exactly the same unless the company were to cut their dividends, which 99% of the time they do not. Now, this is not a recommendation for anyone to follow in my footsteps. Personal finance is just that. It's personal. You need to evaluate your current financial position as well as your financial goals and make the decision which is best suited for you. Things like age, debt, investment knowledge, risk tolerance. These are all important factors to consider when making an investment decision and building a strategy which is going to work for you. All that being said, thank you so much for watching. And as discussed in this video, the best time to start investing was yesterday. And the second best time to start investing is after you drop a like on this video. If you want to learn more strategies to build passive income for yourself, I recommend that you click right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.